Trajan capital of the world. I'm the average Lafayette, Louisiana kid.
See, I'm back on my...
Hey, fellas. Hey, Raging Review said, congratulations. Say what's up, y'all. Yeah!
People that have courage don't have no extra gene. There's no difference in you. The difference is, are you going to sit down when it's time to stand up?
Ladies and germs, welcome in to another edition of Rage and Review. What is going on? It's KG, it's Big Mike, it's Big Kev, it's all the boys in tonight. I see that old throwback jersey, my boy. I got my brother's jersey like that sitting somewhere in my closet, but my nephew wore it at the time, so it could probably fit on my thigh about this time these days, but always get to see the throwbacks. Boys, how y'all doing? KG, you doing all right?
We're good, baby. Another edition of Rage and Review. Glad that we got the heavy hitters in here tonight. Good to see you, Mike and Kev. Like I told y'all Sunday after the weekend, appreciate y'all jumping on and doing that post game. It was a really good one, Nick. Thank you as always for running it. But I'm glad that we have the Knights of the Round Table tonight. After a big weekend from the Cajuns, we have to continue to play strong going into Troy.
I think we got the Knights of Judice and Patterson in the house tonight. A little bit of Scompton for good measure. Boys, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to thank our sponsors. When we come back, we'll get into it. We got a lot to talk about. Be back after this. We'd like to thank the following partners who make Rage and Review possible. Our title sponsor, the Best Stop Family Market, with locations in Katy and Baytown, Texas, Toledo Bend, Karen Crow, and of course, the official location opened in 1986 in Scott. Visit the Best Stop and ask about the Rage and Review tailgate platters. Gulf Coast Bank, title sponsor of the Tailgate Show every Saturday, 3 hours before kickoff. Planet Radio 106.7. Lafayette Roofing. The Yard Goat. Yes Please Branding and Marketing. Old Time Grocery. Stride Safety Solutions. Eat Lafayette, brought to you by Lafayette Travel, Rage and Hydration, and Dr. Brett Venable at Recovery Chiromed. And we'd also like to thank our Patreon sponsors listed here. For only $2 a month, you too could have early access to uncut interviews before they air here on our shows. You also get an exclusive Patreon icon next to your name on Cajun Threads, the official message form for Rage and Review. If you are interested in joining as a Patreon, visit us at patreon.com/rageandreview. Thanks to all of our corporate and Patreon sponsors for making this show possible. All right, boys, let's get into it. First, I do want to find out, because we talked about USM over the weekend, Mike and Kev. We gave our thoughts about the series. We kind of wrapped that up on our post game. But KG, you weren't here. But you were at the games. Talk to us a little bit about that big Southern Miss series win. It was much needed. Whether it's season saving or just a sign of things to come, that'll be figured out later in the season. But right now, it felt like it was a necessary series win that, frankly, I didn't think we could pull off.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely say it was season saving. And the reason I say that is because, the way that the middle of that season, the middle of that stretch was trending, it was all going downhill. And you were able to pull off a top 10 upset at home against, Southern Miss to basically salvage your season. And the reason I say that, and we talked about it on past shows, at the trajectory we were heading, we were pretty much on the verge of having to win the tournament to get into a regional. With you winning a top 10 series like that, you bounce back in the RPI, you show the world, hey, we're not out of it yet. And now you don't necessarily, if you have a good, strong finish to the end of the Sun Belt slate, you don't necessarily need to win the tournament anymore. Now, we talked about this. You're going to have to go deep. You're going to have to win some games. That's a given. But yeah, bottom line, Nick, you're not necessarily wrong. It could be a very much a season-defining series that the Cajuns took last weekend from Southern Miss. I'll jump into it real quick. We kind of joked about it last Sunday afternoon on the post-game show that, Friday, there's not much to talk about Friday. Very uncompetitive ball game. Sawyer Pruitt got the loss and probably what is his worst outing to this point. Pappenbrock comes in after him, doesn't do much better. He went three innings, 3 hits, 3 earned runs, a walk, and 3 strikeouts. Carter follows him up. Carter had another good outing. In an inning and 2/3, 1 hit, 2 earned runs, a walk, and 3 strikeouts. And lastly, you got to show love to Josh Lim, who's been the straw of this offensive lineup lately. Josh Lim went 3 for 4 in that game with 2 doubles. So Josh was really the lone bright spot on the offensive side of the ball. Cajuns in that game, like I said, dropping that one 8-1. They only had 5 hits and 2 errors. And honestly, I'm fast forwarding a little bit. Another little bugaboo for the Cajuns. They did not play error-free ball this weekend. They had an error in each of the 3 games. So, we starting to see that defense slip a little bit when we were rock solid earlier in the year. But, Saturday you bounce back with Andrew Herman, the Andrew Herman that we get at the Teague that we have seen so often over the past couple years. He did it again. Herman goes 9 innings, 5 hits allowed, 4 earned runs, 1 walk, and 9 strikeouts. A couple of key offensive stars in that game. Spolito went 2 for 4 with a home run and 2 RBIs. Blaze Rodriguez 2 for 3 with a double and 2 RBIs. And Lee Amadei, the steady hand in the lineup, again going 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs. So you're able to win that middle game. That's what we love Herman. That's why we love him on Saturday, because he's able to get you right back into the fight with the way that we've been dropping games on Friday. And then lastly, that Sunday dogfight. I loved it. Roman didn't have his best stuff. The Cajuns started with a 3-0 lead in that one. But Roman went 3 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts. Like I said, he didn't have his best stuff. Cajuns got out to a 3-0 lead, gave it right back up in the 3rd, I believe. Cajuns go up 4-3, gave it right back 4-4. So it was a back and forth early on, but enters Parker Smith, who actually ended with the win. Parker Smith goes 2.2 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run, no strikeouts, no walks. A steady hand out of the bullpen once again from Parker Smith. And then enters the elite arm of Cody Brash to seal the deal. 3 innings pitched, 2 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk, and 3 strikeouts, and he gets the save and shuts the door. Even though it was a 5-4 win in that last, Sunday game, with Cody Brash on the mound, and this is what makes me so comfortable, is that you live and you die by your best, right? So there's no need to be nervous, because in your head, you should be thinking, who else are you going to have in that spot, right? Like, that's the guy you need in there. So Cody Brash did his thing, slams the door, and the Cajuns get out of there taking 2 of 3. And, yeah, man, I'm really happy, just my takeaway from the weekend. Like I said, Friday, very uncompetitive, but I love the fight that I saw from the boys Saturday and Sunday. Now, I will give one other knock. We only had 20 hits on the weekend when you do the math, it's just under 7 hits a game. Yeah, like we talk about, the offense got to get those numbers up. But, I'm not going to beat a dead horse with that one, because the fact is you took 2 of 3 from a top 10 team. Now is not the time to nitpick. They got it done, and that's the bottom line. But I'm glad they were able to bounce back Saturday and Sunday and finish strong, because we needed to see some fight from our boys, and we got that. So hopefully we can take that and build on it, going to Troy, which is always a tough place to play, and that's an old school Sun Belt rivalry right there.
What's up to James Carrier, always supporting the show. Appreciate the tip. The switch has been flipped. He's feeling a run. I know a lot of people are feeling a run. I see some nods going on there. I'm not bought into that yet. Show me what you can do this weekend. Don't shit the bed in Troy, and then we can have that conversation. So we'll see how that goes. One thing that you said, KG, is we don't have to worry about who's coming in to shut the door. Well, this weekend we do. We don't know who's coming in, because Cody Brash is going to be starting on Friday, and I don't want to get ahead of myself. We'll talk about that when it comes to pitching during the next segment. But that is something that we're going to have to consider is, are we going to bring Sawyer Pruitt in to shut the door, because we know he is a shut the door kind of guy? Do we save him for Sunday? We'll see how that works out this weekend and plays out for the Cajuns. One thing that you also have to keep in mind, well, I'm not going to get ahead of myself. We're going to get to the Troy part in a second. I do want to ask you before we move on to that, Caleb Stelly, Gunnar Leger, did you give him hell last weekend?
No, well, let's say this.
Yeah, you back off of that real quick.
Hold on. Yeah. I'll start with Caleb because you brought his name up first. Yeah, I booed him. But it was a lot of fun, man. Caleb took it in stride. Obviously Section A sits right above the first base dugout, and he's in the back of the dugout warming people up. He didn't play the field. He DH'd, on Sunday. But he did warm up the players a couple of times down the line. And, yeah, we booed him, and gave him some hell. But I will say this. He never gave us really an ugly look or anything like that. He kind of took it in stride and smiled at us, but it is what it is. And I will say this, it was funny. Kev talked about it on Sunday. It was funny that they were trying to overcome our boos when he would come up to the plate by cheering with him. And I made the joke, well, damn, that's the most cheers he's got all year from the Southern Miss fans. And the other joke was everybody was like, we want Stelly. And I looked at him, I said, Southern Miss don't even want Stelly. What are you talking about? But anyway, so yeah, we got on Stelly a good bit, but he was a good sport about it. Now, on the flip side with Gunner, I'm going to be honest with you, there was nothing but love there. I did not hear anybody say a bad word about Gunner. I think everybody knows the mutual stuff that we have going on there. Him going to Southern Miss and us getting Sandy, it was kind of a win-win for both sides. Gunner gets to go learn under Ostrander, who is a phenomenal pitching coach in the country. Sandy is well established, and we've already seen what he's done with our pitching staff and our guys here. So I just think people, Stelly, there's a little bit more bad blood there than Gunner leaving for Southern Miss. It's mutual there. But no, Gunner got some love. What up, G? And he would always, throw the deuce up to us in Section A. I know the cooking club got to talk to him a good bit this weekend as well. So it was a night and day scenario between Stelly and Gunner. But both of those guys were good sports, and it was fun, man. It was a good weekend.
I don't know if Ryan has a volume up watching us from Scotty's birthday dinner, but here you go, Scotty.
Happy birthday, Scotty. Happy birthday, Scotty.
There we go.
Happy birthday, Scotty.
That's pretty awesome. I found that on the fly. So there you go. It was worth it. Be sure to go back, rewind it a little bit, and show Scotty we're giving some love. And I stand by my remark that she's much cooler than you, Ryan, in the end. So there we go. All right. Well, so we wrapped up USM, boys. I think Keb, you, Mike, we gave all our thoughts ad nauseum over the weekend. So we'll move forward to the upcoming series against the Troy Trojans. Before we get to that, just a reminder, I did sit down, Lane and I did sit down with the head coach of the Troy Trojans, Skylar Mead, today. And man, he is such an awesome interview. He is very blunt. He's honest about everything. He doesn't hold back. And we even get into our boy Blake Cavell a little bit. And I asked if there's any correlation between wins and losses and how high he hikes up his pants. So he had a pretty good answer to that. We'll talk about that if you go back and watch it. The first about 3 minutes kind of rough because I screwed up the replay on here and it's echoing a little bit. But I'll fix that tomorrow and we'll have a good new episode up and running tomorrow with him. But if you have a chance, do check it out. But let's get into the Troy Trojans. You want to. I'm not going to say you want to kind of overlook Troy because they have basically one game over 500. Are they, KG? I think they're a game over 500.
They're game under 500.
Under 500.
Now that they lost to UNO.
Right, but a game over 500 in the Sun Belt, which is good enough for a huge tie at third place. So they're actually third place in the Sun Belt Conference right now, which is ahead of us. But you have the chance to make up some ground this weekend, and so does Troy. We're both looking to make a statement this weekend and try to move up in the rankings within the Sun Belt Conference. And the Cajuns, with a couple of wins, could certainly do a little damage and move up the standings and maybe into a logjam there. And then Troy's looking to move up to maybe second place with a series win this weekend. So a lot of stuff going on with the Trojans and the Cajuns. I'll turn it over to you, KG. We'll talk about their offense first. What can we expect against the Trojans this weekend?
One thing I want to say, Nick, and we forgot to mention it at the top of the show, happy 10-year anniversary to Big Mike right here and Jerry Abear, our very own Jerry. Jerry is in the comments right here saying, "What's up, boys?"
I think they got married like almost on the same day, ball. Like, what was that? Y'all planned it?
Incredible.
And during baseball season? You kidding me? What's wrong with y'all?
Not likely for me.
It must have been an away weekend, Nick. We must have been playing somebody really crappy, and it must have been an away weekend.
FIU back then. Yeah, you're right.
But no, I wanted to make sure I got that in. Happy 10-year anniversary to my boys. A decade of marriage is tough to do. So congratulations, boys. But yeah, let's jump into the Troy Trojans.
Especially with Jerry. Jesus Christ, she needs an award. God bless you, darling.
No, let's jump into Troy. Troy comes into this one 18-19, 8-7 in the Sun Belt. Like Nick said, they're tied for third. It's like a 5-way tie for third. And I always give this stat because they will be at home this weekend. They are 11-5 at home. So they are a good team at their home ballpark. Their RPI is at 64. For comparison, the Cajuns is sitting at 41, and their strength of schedule is respectable at 22nd in the country. Cajuns are sitting at 16th. So let's talk about their offensive lineup. They're going to be led by their catcher, Jimmy Janicki. He's batting .340 on the season, which leads the team. Also leads the team in hits with 50, leads the team in home runs with 10, leads the team in RBIs with 48, and leads the team in slugging percentage with a 639 clip. So the catcher behind the dish for the Trojans is a stud. We're going to talk about their third baseman, Josh Pine. He's hitting .338 on the year, leads the team in runs scored with 33 and doubles with 15. At left field, you're going to see Drew Nelson. Drew Nelson's actually a two-way player. I'm going to be talking about him a little bit later when we talk about the pitching staff, but left fielder Drew Nelson hitting .328 on this team. Right fielder Aaron Pasecki is batting .309. He actually also leads the team in on-base percentage with a .455. Shortstop is Nolan Book. He's hitting .280 on the year. And at center field, you have Steven Meyer hitting .265. Meyer actually leads the team in two categories, in triples with 3 and stolen bases with 7. Second baseman Sean Darnell hitting .264 on this team. First baseman Blake Cavell, who you mentioned a little bit ago, Nick, is hitting .252. And then lastly, their designated hitter is going to be Houston Markham, who's hitting .298. So that's a look of what we should see from the Troy Trojans as far as on the field. And now I'll give you the offensive comparison stats when it comes to the Cajuns and the Trojans. Cajuns come into this weekend hitting .247. The Trojans are hitting .282. Runs scored to this point, Cajuns have scored 187 runs. Trojans have scored .250. Hits to this point, Cajuns have hit 286 balls, and the Trojans have hit 350. Let's see. Home runs to this point, Cajuns have 21. Trojans have 37. RBIs to this point, Cajuns 167, Trojans 230. Slugging percentage, Cajuns 369, Troy 445. Strikeouts, Cajuns 277, Trojans 295. On-base percentage, Cajuns 359, Trojans 395. And lastly, stolen bases, Cajuns 61, Trojans 28. So that's a little bit of the offensive comparison. Like I said, this offense is kind of built around their catcher, Jimmy Janicki, who is leading the team in average home runs and RBIs. He's going to be the straw for them, like we always talk about. So it's going to be very important that our pitching staff holds down that big bat in that lineup. But I'll go around the horn. Let's talk about this offense that, again, like we've seen the last couple of weeks in Sunbelt play, is just a notch higher than the Cajuns are hitting right now.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they're almost, you could say they're 30 points better than us hitting the ball as far as batting average goes, and better with their OPS and better with their slugging. Really all facets of their offense. Now, not blowing anybody out the water, but they are getting the job done. They've got 40 homers, nearly 40 homers this season to our 21. So they're doubling up in homers, and it's going to be hard to hit it out of the ballpark for right-handed hitters this weekend, because you've got that batter's eye in right field that goes about 15 stories up and then tapers down to center field. So really anything from about right center all the way to right field, you're going to have a tough time getting the ball out the ballpark. But left-handed hitters might have some success because the ball does fly out of the left field quite a bit. And we've seen some of our former Cajuns players hit some bombs over that tall fence. So we'll see how things go this weekend as far as power hitting goes. But one thing that stood out to me, I don't know if you mentioned, I may have missed it, but as far as stolen base attempts, Troy has attempted 38 stolen bases. They were successful 28 times, so they're 28 for 38, while Louisiana is 61 for 84. So we are significantly more aggressive on the base paths, and we'll see how that translates. One thing that I did take away from Skylar Meade this weekend is each guy does his job. Offensively, offense is not really going to be the problem for the Trojans this weekend because they can score some points. I mean, you look at what they did to Texas State last weekend. They outscored them 2 straight games to win the series. They nearly had, I think they had 10 runs on 18 hits last night, and some, bad luck beat him at the end of the game last night. So they can hit the ball. They can swing it. Their problem is a little bit like us defensively and pitching wise. Sometimes they get into their heads a little bit, and later in the game, it's like a snowball effect, like we've seen from the Cajuns. But Mike, I'll turn it over to you. I'm not going to say that they're world beaters offensively, but they're better than we are at swinging the bats.
Yeah, like Cole said, they're batting 282 as a team. I wish we were batting 282 as a team, but they from looking at everything today, both programs kind of mirror each other. We're pretty equivalent, pretty close in statistics from offense, defense, and on the mound, slightly upper and down on some categories. But they've been pretty consistent offensively in the Sun Belt. I mean, they're 7th in batting average in the Sun Belt. They're 6th in home runs, 6th in slug, 5th in on-base percentage, 6th in fielding percentage, 8th in ERA on the mound. So offensively, they're like right in the middle of the pack, which, hey, they're being consistent offensively. I wish we could say the same for us. We're at, dead last in almost every offensive stat in the Sun Belt. But looking at their past, they kind of had some really, really good wins, and they've also had some really, really bad losses. So if you look at, they beat a really good Campbell team. They beat a number 5 Georgia, lost the series to Maryland, which we swept. They lost the series to Southern Miss, and then they lose to a 12-24 Georgia Southern, but then bounce back and win the series against Arkansas State and 2 really good teams, Arkansas State and Texas State. So what's interesting about this matchup is that I think both teams are flirting with that bubble. And I think us beating Southern Miss gave us life, gave us hope, gave us energy. And now it could be a turning point in the season. And same for them. They're trying to get in the tournament just like us. So we're going to be – this is also could be a turning point series this weekend, which I think both teams really need to try to get that regional.
Bryce is hating on Skylar Meade, and he's hating on Blake Cavell. He's hating on everybody tonight. Look, I like Skylar Meade. Go back and watch the episode from earlier today. Guy was super cool. He was awesome. We talked about Blake Cavell a bit, but if you take the ranking away from us earlier this season and you look at the two teams and you said we're similar, I think they also play up to competition as we do. And so that worries me just a little bit. Not saying that the guys are taking the trip to Troy for granted, because they can't take any team for granted, but Troy is going to come in, Kev, ready to play baseball. They're going to come in hyped. They're going to have a huge crowd on Saturday because they have a special guest starting out the first pitch. It's going to be rocking. Hopefully nobody gets arrested for getting sideswiped by a Troy fan. But regardless, I think offensively, we're going to have to take that crowd out of it at some point, and it'll require us to get a timely hit or to lay down a drag bunt or to just execute our game plan and not make silly mental mistakes. Do you agree with me, Kev?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean that's pretty much the name of the game. And anytime we're on the road, you want to get out there and get out to an early start, especially offensively, and you don't want to make errors. And I know, look, our defense has been our strong suit all year. But they've kind of faltered at times in the last week or two with the errors. I don't expect that to continue, though. I expect that to be cleaned up. But, yeah, this Troy team, it's a good team. It's a very talented team. I'm sure it's an older team. They've had a good thing going for a few years now, as we all know, with Skylar Meade. And they've kind of had our number over the last few years. So it's a little worrisome in that aspect, but then again, coming off a win like we have against Southern Miss, and I think the morale has just turned completely around. And I think the morale in the locker room may have turned around before the Southern Miss series. I think that's what we'll need to kind of propel us into this weekend. So, yeah, I mean, like you said it, man. You get out there and you get out to an early start. You don't make errors, and hopefully you can get a good start Friday night on the mound. I'm sure we'll talk about the pitching situation, But that's pretty much the name of the game. But looking at Troy, I'll tell you what, man, this Jimmy Janicki guy, he's got 48 RBIs. He leads the team with 48 RBIs. And just for reference, if you're not sure, our leading RBI guy is Lee Amadei, and you would think, yeah, he's probably up there around that. Well, he's got 22, which is respectable, but man, it just goes to show that this guy is really crushing the ball. And like Cole said, they've got 4 guys right here at the top of the lineup that's hitting in the 300s. So it's going to be a hard team to keep down, especially when you go to their park, as you mentioned. The dimensions are a little wonky out there. It's always been like that. So it's kind of the same story. We go on the road. We go to some parks that don't play like the Teague at all. It's the exact opposite. So you kind of got to flip the script a little bit and find different ways to win. Something I was looking at, even though Troy statistically, in slugging percentage and batting average and run score and all that, they're averaging 6.7 runs per game, and the Cajuns, they're not too far behind at 5.2 runs per game. So, it just goes to show, like we talk about, we find ways to manufacture runs. And I think at the end of the day, that's what this team is going to have to do throughout the rest of this year. If we want to continue sustaining some success offensively. We're tripling them up on stolen bases, looking at the stats. So it's just, we're bunting the ball a lot better over the last 2 weeks. Those are the kind of small ball type things that we just have to execute and to get runs across this weekend.
As we get into pitching now, KG, one of the opportunities, and I don't want to, we talk about stats every week and the stats always are opposite of what we say, but I think Louisiana might have a chance for the long ball a little more than last week because of the fact that Troy is in a similar position as we are as far as giving up home runs. And several times this season, they've been in a big position where they've given up a homer in a critical point of the game. So that'll be something to watch out for. I don't know if that's a trend or that's just happenstance, but they look a lot like us on the mound in that regard. Tell us a little bit more about the pitching staff for the Trojans.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that you said that because that was actually the most surprising stat to me is the amount of home runs they've given up. This team is the closest that we've seen to giving up the amount of home runs that the Cajuns give up. Just for reference, the Cajuns are sitting at 58th, which I don't know is still leading the country, but it was in the past couple of weeks. Troy has given up 48. So the Cajuns are going to have their opportunities to hit the long ball. And like y'all talked about Troy, we have a lot of lefties in our lineup. And Troy, that right field, that gives you an opportunity to get the ball out the yard. So, yeah, I would not be surprised to see the Cajuns leave the yard a couple of times this weekend. Hopefully it's with runners on base because, as you guys know, for the longest time it's been solo. But anyway, yeah, let's talk about the Troy pitching staff. Kind of similar, like you mentioned, to ours. Their top 3 guys are their Friday, Saturday, Sunday guys. I know the Cajuns are shuffling some things around this weekend. We're going to talk about that in a second. But they're going to be led on Friday by Benjamin Stubbs. He has a 3.12 ERA, which leads the team in qualified starters. He has a 1.12 whip, which is very good, a 3-0 record, 9 appearances, 9 games started, and opponents are hitting 220 off of him. On Saturday, you'll see Tommy Egan, a 4.34 ERA, 1.2 whip, a 4-1 record, 9 games started and 9 appearances. He has 1 complete game and has a 2.44 batting average against. And on Sunday, I know on Facebook and X and whatnot, it says TBD. But I'm going based on trends, and I'm going based off of what they did last week. And last week, they actually threw their outfielder, Drew Nelson. On Sunday, he has a 2.08 ERA, a .92 whip, a 1-1 record. He has 5 appearances and 1 start. That 1 start was last Sunday. So if the trends continue, we might very well see Drew Nelson again. Now, same situation for the Cajuns. It's TBD because you got to see what's going to happen those first 2 games. Because let's say Troy takes the first 2 games, maybe they don't throw him on Sunday, or maybe they lose the first 2, whatever decision Coach Meade wants to go with. Batting average against, Drew Nelson has a 161 batting average against. Now let's talk about some of their bullpen guys. First guy out the pen that we might see is Jack Crotchfeld, 5.04 ERA, a 1.52 whip. He's a 1-2 record, 15 appearances and 30 innings pitched. 276 batting average against. Behind him, you might see Noah Thigpen, 6.62 ERA, 1.47 WHIP, 0-4, 11 appearances, 4 starts, and a 273 batting average against. Now, there's two possible closers on this team. They got 2 guys that have a couple of saves under their belt. I'm going to give you the first one, Dylan Alonso. Dylan Alonso has a 5.68 ERA, a 1.56 WHIP, 3-3 record, 14 appearances and 3 starts. He has 5 saves on the season, and opponents are hitting 265 off him. And then lastly, closer number 2 is what I'm going to refer to him as, Cooper Ellingworth. 5.93 ERA, 1.65 WHIP, 1-3 record, 17 appearances, no starts, 3 saves, and opponents are hitting 287 off of them. So that's a look at some of their guys, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and a couple of their bullpen arms that we'll see. Let's talk about the comparison stats, and then I'll open the floor to you guys to get your thoughts. Troy has a 5.74 team ERA. Cajuns are sitting at 4.89. Troy has a 1.55 WHIP. Cajuns are sitting at 1.31. Both teams are tied with 8 saves on the season. Troy has given up 335 hits to this point. Cajuns 286. Earned runs, Troy has given up 201. Cajuns are sitting at 177. Walks to this point, Troy has 154 walks as a staff. The Cajuns only have given up 139. Doubles to this point, it's a stat that I'm going to start paying attention to a little more, gap to gap. Troy's given up 346 doubles. Cajuns have only given up 339, so a tick better in that regard. Home runs allowed, we just talked about it a second ago. Troy has allowed 48 home runs. Cajuns have allowed 58. Batting average against Troy is giving up 273 BAA, and the Cajuns are sitting at 236. And lastly, and it's a stat that I haven't said much, but now that the Cajuns are starting to get up there in this number, I think it's something we need to pay attention to. Hit by pitches as a staff, Troy has hit 45 batters. The Cajuns have hit 59. So that's a look at the Troy Trojans pitching staff. We'll go around the horn, and I'm sure after we do that, we'll talk about the pitching rotation that the Cajuns will have coming into this weekend as well.
Yeah, because I'm interested to get your guys' thoughts on what that looks like, and I think Bryce didn't hear the rotation change, so we'll get into that in a bit. I did want to mention Drew Nelson, the guy who pitched the second game on Saturday of last week in the doubleheader. He was named the National Two-Way Player of the Week last week, and I expect that's probably going to be a little bit of what we do is wait and see. If we're in a tight ball game and Troy has a 1-run lead going into the 8th against us Friday night, you might see Nelson come in and pitch those last 2 innings, or you might come see him pitch long relief on Saturday if they're in a similar tight game and they need somebody to stop the bleeding. So it's going to be just as TBA for them as it is for us. We'll see how that plays out. But those are the couple of things pitching wise that I had. Mike, any thoughts on the Trojans pitching this weekend?
Yeah, I feel that's going to be our strength. Our upper hand is going to be our pitching over them. Them being 8th in team ERA in the Sun Belt, opponents are batting 273. So that's telling me that they're giving up a lot of hits, and it looks like they have more depth on the mound than we do, and they used a lot of guys. But also, if you look at their opponent's batting average, they're mid-2 up to 3s. So that's giving me a little relief, knowing that they have a lot of guys, but they also give up a lot of hits. They also give up a lot of home runs, just like
Mike, don't fall for it, man. We've made bad pitchers look like Cy Young Award winners this season. Don't jinx it, brother.
You're right. I think that will be our strength going into this game. Both teams have a losing record on the road. Obviously, they're playing at home. They're going to have an advantage, but I really want to take advantage of that wall because we got Rigo and Lim that are switch hitters that could take it from both sides. We got Lee on the left side. So if we can really put some lefties in that lineup and really attack that wall, but getting away from the pitching, I think that's going to be an upper hand. The opponents are batting 273. Get to the bullpen fast. Get their guy out early, attack early, score early, go on the offense early. I think that's going to be the real key this weekend is if we go to the offense. I don't want to play catch up. I want to hit them hard, hit them early, get to the bullpen fast. I think if we get to the bullpen, we're going to have an extreme upper hand.
I agree, and we got to get off to a hot start on Friday night, man, just like we did a couple weeks ago. Even though it didn't go our way, it's important that we get a Friday night win. I don't want another Southern Miss where we look silly for 9 innings. Kev, your thoughts? Are you going with the analytics? Or are you going with the manalytics? So do you think we're gonna we're going to man up this weekend against this pitching staff that shows the opportunity to get hits off of?
Well, I'll go analytically, just kind of staying on track here with what we're doing. But this Troy pitching staff it mirrors our staff in a lot of ways. I think our staff is a little bit better collectively, just statistically and looking at probably stuff and all that. But if you look at the numbers, they're starting three, or at least the first two, and really their bullpen and their closers, as Cole was mentioning, they don't walk a lot of guys, and that's something that we've done really well with this year. You know, we are 41st in the country strike to walk ratio, and they're sitting at 63rd in the country strike to walkout ratio. So we're pretty close there. And fielding percentage, they're 58th in the country at 976. And we're 33rd in the country at a 980. So they don't make a lot of errors as well, just like we do. So the other thing that's similar about us is they might not walk a lot of guys and make a lot of errors, but they give up a lot of home runs, as Cole said, and they can give up some hits. So it's a very similar situation staff-wise. But I didn't know the fact about them giving up the home runs like that, and I kind of talked about executing your small ball earlier, which is always something that should be at the top of a Cajuns baseball team offensive pack mentality, right? It's small ball, which we've done pretty good for the most part, especially early on. And I feel like we got back to that really good last weekend against Southern Miss, which anytime you get back to that, it's encouraging based off what we had seen before that for the previous 3 weeks. So, you know, if they give up a lot of home runs, if they're going to give us some pitches to hit, go after them. We can afford to be a little aggressive there. And I don't remember who mentioned it in the comments, but hey, if we run into a ball or two, we'll take it. We've seen it at DBU in a smaller park. They threw us some balls that we can get to, and we took advantage of, and I think we hit 4 or 5 home runs over that weekend. So I'd like to see that. Sunday, it looks like they are sort of at a little loss if they're throwing guys that were in the outfield on Sunday. Maybe if we can force their hand and force a rubber game, or maybe, you know, hopefully have 2 games into going Sunday, shake them up a little bit, and kind of how we did against Southern Miss. Southern Miss threw a hell of a lot of guys Saturday, trying to, you know, keep up and keep the walk numbers down, and they did Sunday as well. And I feel like their pen was depleted. They had one of probably the best bullpen and the best pitching staff factually in the Sun Belt, and we were able just to strip them thin by the end of the game Sunday. So if we could do something like that and take advantage of that Sunday game, I think we might have the upper hand there. Our Sunday guy right now it's a question mark. I feel like we kind of know who we're going to go with, or we have an idea. And you know, we can talk about that as well and go around, but I feel like we're probably a little more set there than they are. And you know, we kind of have our guys there. Look, Mandino could have a big weekend too. I know you're talking about lefties, Mike. He's a guy that hadn't really been in the lineup too much lately. And if we're going to need some lefties, I'd like to see him have a big weekend as well.
Yeah, and one thing we didn't talk about was, I know I kind of touched on base running earlier. When you look at the analytics versus man-analytics, you look at what Troy has done this year as far as opponents running the bags against them. Opponents are 27 for 32 on the bases in stolen bases against Troy this season. So I think, again, you have a chance. Now, will that make Deggs more aggressive? And are we going to be pulling our hair out when he runs a guy at the wrong time and we make a stupid base running mistake because we're being too aggressive? Yes, that will ultimately happen at some point this weekend. But I think we're going to have success on the base paths if we are disciplined there. KG, let's go back to you. Let's talk about the pitching rotation this weekend. Obviously, as it was announced earlier today, we're going to go with Cody Brash on Friday. We're going to go with Andrew Herman on Saturday, TBD on Sunday. My thought is, like yours, TBD on what happens earlier in the weekend and who we have available at that point. But do you agree with moving Brash to Friday night, or did you scratch your head and go, what the hell is this?
I don't agree or disagree with it. I mean, when Cody Brash is on the mound, I don't care whether he's starting a game or in the back end of the bullpen getting you a save. I mean, Cody Brash on the mound is never a bad thing. I can see the thought process behind it because we've been begging to get off to a fast, hot start on Friday nights, and Cody Brash is your best arm. And we've seen Cody Brash throw 40, 50 pitches at times. So we know he can be a starter. We just, up to this point, we needed him to be the back end of the bullpen, closing games out, six out, games and whatnot. TBD to me, we already know. And I'm just going to cut through the BS. It's either going to be Sawyer Pruitt or it's going to be Ty Roman, depending who's left available on Sunday. And like Kev said, it's going to be all hands on deck for games 1 and 2. Right. So let's say Friday night comes along. Cody Brash has a good outing, but it's still tight when he gets out the game. I'm going to give a scenario. Let's say it's a 4-3 ball game in the 6th. Guess what? Yeah, you're probably going to see Sawyer Pruitt come in the 7th inning and try to stretch and save that lead. But if Cody Brash can get out to a sizable lead, let's say, for example, the Cajuns are up 7-2 on Friday night. Well, guess what? Now you can save Sawyer Pruitt for a Sunday start. You don't have to bring him in there. Maybe you bring in Ty Roman in relief on Friday night instead. So, yeah, TBD to us. Like I said, I would be surprised if Sunday is anybody but Sawyer Pruitt or Ty Roman, but that's the thought process behind it. Can we get out the gate hot, especially on the road, which we know Troy is I'm not going to call it a launching pad. It's not a home run paradise, but it is a place with a lot of possibilities to hit the ball. And Cody Brash gives you the best ability to minimize offensive output, if you're against the Troy Trojans. So, but no, that's what I'm thinking. And on the flip side, let's talk about Troy real quick. Troy is TBD, right? I guarantee you they're thinking the same way we are. If they have to throw Drew Nelson in an important situation on a Friday or Saturday, they absolutely will. And maybe they Johnny Holstaff it on Sunday. I'm not sure who's been going for them on Sunday most of the year. I haven't really dove that deep into it. I see they have a couple of guys. Let's see, for example, Noah Thigpen, right? Who is one of the names I said out the pin. Noah Thigpen has 4 starts on the year. So maybe that's a guy we might see on Sunday instead. I'm using him as a placeholder. So they do mirror us exactly. I could see Deggs and Skylar Meade coaching up this pitching staff exactly the same, just depending on those Friday and Saturday games. But yeah, bottom line for me, I would be surprised if it's anybody but Ty Roman or Sawyer Pruitt on Sunday.
Your thoughts, Mike? What do you think about the rotation decision? And, what do you think about Sunday?
It's hard to even come after that because I thought Cole nailed it to the T on that. I think it's going to be Brash. They're going high velo, and that's telling me that Friday's a must win. Friday's a must win. They're going with Brash, throw the velo, keep the ball in the park. Brash doesn't give up a lot of home runs. Herm on Saturday. I want Herm to be really efficient on the road. Like Cole said a while back, Herm on the road is a different Herm at home. And then TBD, we know Sawyer. But I think Cole just nailed it. I think if Brash if it's a tight game, you might see Sawyer. If it's a widespread game, you're going to see Sawyer on Sunday. I think what we will see now is we're really going to see the pitchers separate themselves from everybody, and you're going to see guys that Deggs trust. The middle of the relief, you're going to see Parker Smith. You're going to see Garrett Carter. You're going to see Pappenbrock. You're going to see Ty Roman. And this is not a jab at JR. I don't know how much he's going to be in this rotation because he leads the team in most home runs, and we have to keep this ball in the park. But I think from here on out, I think what Cole said, he nailed it. I think you're going to see the pitcher staff of who Deggs trusts. And also, I think Deggs tends to go analytically. If it's lefty, righty, velo, he's going to play matchup with these guys. And I think they're going to be doing the exact same thing to us. I think this is going to be a chess game between the coaches, but also at the end of the day, our guys go out and go compete. But I think it's really interesting this pitching changeup that they threw at us.
All right, Kev, I'll let you get final thoughts on the rotation for the Cajuns this weekend. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I was a little surprised, but I'm not shocked. And look, if you look down here in the comments, Bryce pretty much nailed it. You look at what Brash did against LSU in his only start of the year, and he goes out there and throws 3 or 4 scoreless innings, and we kind of reverse pitch it. I think it was Smith that might have given up the 2-run homer in the middle part of the game. But Brash, Pearson, Smith, and Sawyer. That's 4 of your best arms. If we could do something like that Friday, I am totally for it. I'm not worried about the Saturday and Sunday situation, especially with the Iron Man on the mound Saturday. And, like we talked about, it's really – and this is going to sound obvious, but this Friday game is just as important as any 3 of the games were last weekend. You can't squander this opportunity they have right now. I know last weekend I was all, I had my, what'd you call it, Nick, a victory lap or something like that. Kev's Revenge Tour. Well, that's all in the past. Right now, I'm not going to sunshine pump. I'm going to say we have to go out there and stick our chest out and prove that it wasn't just, hey, we got one. We ain't got one in 2 weeks. We finally got one. No, let's go out there and prove it that we can hang with these guys and win some important series. So I'm fine with pitching. We're starting Brash Friday. I mean, he's got a 2.18 ERA in 33 innings, which is considerably. It's nearly half as many innings as Herman's gone. And he's got 47 strikeouts and only 14 walks. That's impressive. Only giving up 8 runs, and batters are hitting 207 against him. So, I mean, really, we talked about it Sunday. Who do you want as your guy to come in there in any situation, whether it's a start, a close, a stopper? You want Brash. You feel the most comfortable with him out there on the mound. So if this game is that important, yeah, let's do it. And Cole mentioned it depends on the situation. I look at a guy like Hayden Pearson as a guy that we could come in to close a game off if we need him. Even if you want to save Pruitt for Sunday, which I don't think they will. I think you're going to see Roman Sunday. I agree with that. But if you got to go away from Herm, hopefully we can get another complete game out of him. But obviously I don't expect that. You got a guy like Smith or Pearson and Pappenbrock. He's got a new arm slot. He's been looking pretty good lately over the last week and a half. So we're still pretty loaded there. And I know Jerry was here. He'd be freaking out about playing with the pitching rotation 4 weeks into the conference play. That doesn't bother me either. Every weekend's different. Every opponent's different. Every situation's different. Every game's different. It's baseball. You got to do what you got to do to get the game that day, and you'll figure the rest out tomorrow. So I think that's the approach they're going with.
Josh is coming after you right now to disagree with your assessment and saying we need to have the guys in the same place every game. So I'm waiting for him. He's clearly not on here yet because he would have said something already, but we'll see if Josh is here later. As we close the book on the upcoming series preview, I do want to say, again, if you haven't had a chance, please check out the interview that I had with Coach Schuyler earlier today. It was awesome. He talked about the fans in Lafayette and how last year, if you remember, his house got hit by a tornado while he was here in Lafayette. He got home and basically his house and his property were destroyed, but he couldn't thank us enough. And he said it on there. Thanks to Cajun Nation. He had so many people waiting for him after the game to check on him, see if there's anything they can do, really just showing the Cajun hospitality. So, he really appreciates it, and I'm sure he's gonna have a few words for the Cajuns fans in attendance because that looked like it really was special for him. And also, let's talk about Drew Cavill, that guy. So that's another thing that we talked about, and that guy is something else. Their first baseman, if you remember, he and Jose got into it last year after a controversial call at the plate, whether it was catcher's interference or not, and then I think the score was 4-3, so he did this to, he was talking shit to Jose in the dugout. He's one of those guys that you love to have him on your team, but you hate him when he's on the other team. Is there any hate for, and I called him Blake Cavill. Is there any hate for Blake Cavill going into the Troy series? I feel like Kevin's saying yes, but just your take is that a guy who's turning into the evil, Dr. Evil on the other team that we just all have grown to hate?
Yeah, I love having a guy like that we can all collectively hate. I feel like it was like a Danny Lynch type guy. You kind of grow a little rivalry with the fella. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. He started a little shit with the Southern Miss first baseman, I believe, in their series and on the Friday night game. he kind of gave him a little Mandino truck move to the first baseman, and I think they had got into a little kerfuffle. So I don't know. Hopefully, I'm not opposed to shit like that happening. I love the fire. I love to see dugouts clear and that kind of stuff. I know a lot of people are gonna be like, "It's Bush League." I really don't care. I love the fire. I love the ejections. Show me some passion, man. Knock somebody's ass out. That's why we're here. That's what we want to see.
And it's like Coach said. He said, "This is entertainment, man." He's like, "We're entertain." He said, "You guys do what you do because you're entertainers, and that's what we are." And he said, "I just told them embrace it, man. Go full. If you enjoy doing that, go for it. Be that guy. Be that evil guy on the other side that everybody hates." And when he said that, a light appeared over my head, and I stopped him in his words at that moment, and I said, "Holy shit! I'm the Blake Cavell of Sunbelt Conference Twitter. Like I am Southern Mrs. Black Cavell on here. I am Texas State for sure. LSU wants to kill me. They have fans giving me death threats. Like I am literally the Blake Cavell of Sunbelt Twitter. I just embrace it, man. I mean, am I wrong? I mean, I'm not that bad of a guy, am I, Cole? Outside of this,
under the desk, guys, Nick has his baseball pants hiked up, looking like booty shorts. So yeah, maybe you are.
I did ask about that, by the way, but whatever.
No, it's fun as a fan. Obviously, I wish we were at home to really rub it in. But yeah, as a fan, it's fun to go into a series when you have some guys on the other side. When you have some guys on the other side that you could, push back against. That's what makes it fun. Because if it was all handshakes, high fives, and hospitality, what's the fun in that? At the end of the day, this is still a high end sport that you got to get after. You got to compete. So I agree with Kev, and the offensive lineman came out of Kev right there. Which, by the way, kerfuffle is one that is way out the dictionary, Bubba. Good pull right there. But no, the offensive lineman came out of Kev. But he's right. As fans, we want to see the fight in our teams. I don't necessarily want to see the benches clear, but if they do, I'm going to have a beer in my hand going, whoop his ass, So, no, man, Blake Cavell, he ruffled some feathers last year at the Teague. He's not lighting the world on fire for them. I don't know. I'm sure he's still the same personality. He's still that kind of instigator. He's still going to have something to say. But the fact that he's not lighting the world on fire for the Trojans, I want to say he might be their lowest average qualified hitter right now. We'll have to see if that has humbled him at all, which I doubt it did. But that's my take.
Hey, Caswell, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and tweet this out because we're going to start that with all of our fans and burners and tag Cavell in it. Let's get that started. What Blake Cavell does poorly in the eyes of Cajuns. We'll start that going into the weekend. I think that'll be a lot of fun. Also, Doug, I don't know who hurt you or how I hurt you, but it's going to be okay, buddy. You'll be fine. All right, boys, let's move on. I'll move on to softball. Speaking of softball, he's a big fan of a former coach, but we're not going to talk about that. KG, it was not a good weekend at James Madison, where the Cajuns got swept. It was certainly not a good weekend against LSU, where we got ruled 8-0 midweek. And one of the things that we all saw the frustration in Coach Alley. I'll just say that. I'll say it that way. And that came out after the game, and I like it. And I like her starting to call out her players a little bit because she's looking for a leader to step up and be the one to say that. And she said it. She said, I don't swing the bat. I don't throw the ball. And it was just a pity party tonight. Oh, well, this is not going our way. Oh, this is not going our way. But luck is not coincidence. Sometimes you have to make your own luck. So it was good to see Coach Alley get a little bit fired up, but I'll stop there. KG, turn it over to you if you want to talk about that and the previous 4 games, but this is not Cajun softball that we're all used to seeing year in and year out.
No, and I'm actually glad that Kev's on the show because normally I give this rundown and it's pretty much just me giving you stats and figures and stuff. Kev is almost just as familiar with this team as I am. His wife Shelby's a big, Cajun softball fan and they keep up with it religiously. But no, that's the most frustrating thing about this team to this point. I was actually just talking to my wife Blair in the house. We follow softball, as well. And what's so frustrating when you look at the team totals, and I'm going to dive into their overall and where they're sitting and all of that stuff, but they're still hitting over 300 as a team, which the Cajuns baseball would love to have.
Man,
still hitting
that would be awesome. We'd be number one in the country if we were doing that.
Listen to these numbers. They're hitting over 300 as a team. They have over 40 home runs on the year. They're slugging 480. They have a 381 on base percentage, right? And let's flip the page. As a pitching staff, they have a sub-4 ERA. You would think that would translate into great numbers. But you know where the Cajun softball team is sitting right now? 22-22. A 500 team with those numbers. And it's hard to fathom because as baseball fans, we're not setting the world on fire, but we're doing pretty damn well in the overall. And then we have abysmal offensive numbers and a pitching staff that has kind of, faltered other than last week. So, but anyway, let's get to it. Cajun softball, like I said, 22-22 overall. They dropped to 5-10 in the Sun Belt, which is tied for 9th with Troy. They are currently on a 5-game skid. You said it, Nick. They dropped all 3 games to JMU last weekend. The Friday night, they lost 6-2. Saturday lost 10-2 in a run rule in 5 innings. And then Sunday lost 15-9. Tuesday, that was the LSU game at home, which we had a very poor showing. Again, the Cajuns get run ruled by the Tigers in 5 innings, 8-0. And then if anybody missed it, cue Coach Alley's post-game conference. And you saw a little fire come out of her for what might be the first time in her tenure. And I think she's just starting to get as frustrated as we are because it's just not making sense. The beginning of the season, you were beating respectable opponents, top 20 opponents regularly. I mean, we were lost a 1-run game to LSU early on at Tiger Park, beat some good teams early on, played really well in the tournaments that we went to early on. I think I said it maybe a month or so ago when we were playing those weekend tournaments. We never had a losing record in those tournaments. We always came back home, going either 2-1 or 3-1, so we were doing damn well. And then all of a sudden the Sun Belt slate starts and we just fall off a cliff, man. So I don't know. I think it has just balled over. It's funny up to last weekend how the two programs have mirrored each other. Both teams are kind of scuffling. The Cajuns found a way to get that big top 10. I'm talking about baseball. Baseball found a way to get that big top 10 victory. But on the flip side, the softball team gets swept against JMU. And that's where I think the two teams are kind of going to break apart here. But it's also funny when you think about the post-game presser from Coach Deggs. What was it, 2 or 3 weeks ago? Same fire, same attitude, basically mirrored each other almost word for word. It's like, I'm just a coach. I'm here to basically get you there. It's up to the players to execute. And that's pretty much verbatim what we heard Ali say against LSU after the game. So, but let's talk about their upcoming games, and then I'll give you where they sit with some of the team leaders. Upcoming, they're going to have Coastal. I am correct. They're going to have Coastal at home at Lamson. Coastal is going to come in 22-23 overall, 6-9 in Sunbelt. That's going to be a 3-game series, of course. And then they play McNeese on Tuesday at McNeese. McNeese is currently sitting at 28-18. So Cajuns, a big test in front of them. It's going to go one way or the other. They got to bounce back, and it's got to happen now. They're in a situation now where they got to make the tournament and win the tournament. Unfortunately, it is trending like they will miss the playoffs, or I say playoffs, the regionals, for the second year in a row, which, like you said, Nick, is not something that we're used to with Cajun softball. That's the one sport that we're used to hanging our hat on and getting to a regional each and every year. Let's talk about some of the offensive and pitching leaders for this team. Offensively, batting average, they're led by Mia Lascano, leading the team with a 394 batting average. She also leads the team, or is tied with the team lead in hits with 43, and leads the team in steals with 10. Haley Hart's hitting 358. She is tied for the team lead in hits with 43. Brooke Otto, another name that's coming up for the Cajuns, been really big this year, hitting 353, leads the team in doubles with 12, home runs with 9, RBIs with 37, slugging percentage with 390, and on base percentage with 465. So she's really been a rock in that order. And lastly, I'll just give a shout out to Deja Williams, who leads the team in runs scored with 30 and also has a 314 batting average, doing a damn good job in center field this year. On the pitching side, pretty much been a four-headed monster for the Cajuns, but Bethany Noble's been leading the way in most of their categories. 3.12 ERA, leads the team in WHIP with a 1.45. Tied for the team lead in wins with 7, 6 complete games, and 2 saves. Julianne Tipton's doing a fine job. She has a 3.89 ERA. Lexi Delbray as well, 4.14 ERA. She also leads the team in batting average against with a 2.65. And lastly, Sage Hoover. Sage Hoover does have a little bit of an elevated ERA, but she, I believe, is tied with the team lead in. She does have the team lead in appearances, and she's tied with the team lead in starts. 4.71 ERA. Tied for the team lead in wins with 7. Also leads the team in innings pitched with 93.2. And as a staff, they're throwing 3.99 ERA. So it's kind of baffling. Again, going back to it, their stats just don't correlate with their overall record. And I think the inconsistency is what's killing Coach Alley, because at a time where the Cajuns should be stacking wins, because historically the Cajuns have dominated the Sun Belt Conference. That's been our bread and butter up to last year or 2 years ago. We had won 80-something straight Sun Belt series. It's really disheartening to see that kind of fall off a cliff in the last couple of years. And I think she's just preaching on consistency. We got to have it if we're going to get this program back to where it once was.
All right. I got nothing. Kev, he did call you out earlier. Did you want to respond to what he had to say?
Absolutely. Cole, this is why me and you partners, because you took the words clean out of my mouth. I loved the passion from Allie in the post-game presser or the post-game interview after LSU. And I think you agree with me as well. She's 100% right. I've always been a big proponent of the coaches don't swing the bats, the coaches don't run the ball, the coaches don't catch the ball, whatever it may be. At some point, you have to hold your players accountable. And I think right now she's doing exactly what you said a couple of weeks ago. Deggs is just, you could tell it when he talks in his post games, he's basically like, look, I've done all I can do. At what point are you going to show me you can do this? And they have responded pretty well. I want to see that from the softball team. I want to see Coach put the ball in their court. You sit down in the locker room, and I'm sure she did. She probably told those girls the exact same thing that she told, Jamarcus and everybody after that game. I can't do it. I can only do so much. I can only put you in a position to succeed. You got to show me. So we can choose right now to be pitiful for, ourselves and you throw a pity party and boudet and finish the season under 500, which I don't think's ever happened. Or we can decide to go out there and rip somebody's face off and win some games. That's the passion I seen out of her. And dude, it got me fired up, because you played this LSU team in Baton Rouge a few weeks ago, or a month or so back, and you go 10 innings with them toe to toe and lose 1-0 in the 10th inning or 9th inning, whatever it may have been, and then you come out here in front of a packed house, 2,600 people, and you get no hit. And apparently, if you're feeling sorry for yourself because you're not getting calls or you're not getting stuff going your way, where's the fight? I want to see some fight. And I know that's in them. And I believe that she's right. The right choice will be made. You will see some fight out of them, and they will make a run at the end of the year. I'm not saying that – I don't know. I can't tell the future. I don't know if they're going to set the world on fire and, be the Cinderella team in the tournament. But I don't see them laying down like they kind of did against LSU, which was embarrassing for coach, embarrassing for the girls, embarrassing for the fans. I don't see that happening. I really think they're gonna punch back. So you're spot on with that, Cole.
The eternal optimist. I hope you are correct. I want to see them. I want to see them punch back, man.
I'm challenging them. I'm not. I'm not sunshine pumping right now. I'm challenging them. I want to see them punch.
By the way, can we cut out the whole Allie needs to be gone crap? I mean, she's in year 2. Yeah. We're not going to have that conversation for at least another 2-3 years if we still go. So you're just making yourself look stupid by posting that anywhere. She's not going anywhere.
Thank you.
Just give it up. Look, if I think a big sample does deserve that conversation, we can talk about it. But it's dumb to even be going down that path at this point, KG.
Yeah, I mean, well, last year, I mean, I think the whole of the Cajun Nation would agree that she kind of gets a pass on last year. And the reason we say that is because she was kind of thrown to the wolves with the way that Glasgow left and was left with a bare bones, roster. So
And then
last
let's
year,
not forget that on the way at the end of the season, you got coaches that are plotting to take our players to McNeese as well. So that was a whole nother thing at the end of the season, right?
yeah, you always take it to that next step. But no, I mean, you're right. But the point is that even with that, you still finished, I want to say, what, third or fourth in the conference? I might be wrong. But it doesn't matter. Like, she was able to piece it together to at least be competitive when it came tournament time. So, I actually thought she did a relatively good job last year. Now, turn the page to this season, and I'm going to say it again. It just doesn't make sense. It feels like we do have the talent. Now, yeah, we are young. We got a lot of, younger people that are having to step up and play positions and do things that maybe upperclassmen normally would do. But what I'm getting at is that the talent's there. It's on them now to step up. Like, you're in the dog days of it. You don't have much time left. You're in the bottom third of the season. So you got to get yourself ready for the tournament because, like I mentioned a while ago, you're pretty much going to have to win it to get into a regional. So when you get there, you better be, firing in all cylinders, ready to go. So, Kev, I like that you called them out because, yeah, if they're going to do anything this season and play anything reminiscent of former Cajun softball, they got to start fighting. And this nice girl BS it's got to go. They got to just, I'm not saying play dirty, but they got to play mean. You got to play with passion, and they got to play a cohesive as a cohesive unit, offense complementing the defense, pitching, all of that. It's time. It's now or never for them, and it's going to start against Coastal. Coastal is a 500 team as well, not lighting the world on fire. I'm challenging the Cajuns to sweep because if you're wanting to get back in this Sun Belt race, you're sitting at ninth with a 5-10 record. If you're going to get back into it, I'm challenging you to sweep. Have a good showing at Lamson. Get back into the fight. Get to the ballpark, lace them cleats up, and let's see what we can do.
You ever saw that episode of Cosby Show where the guy dances and then he goes challenge, at the end, and then they dance and then challenge? Well, that's what it feels like, y'all, handing out some challenges. Throwback to Cosby Show days, boys. A couple of things before we move on. That's how my brain works. I like the way that she handled it. I'm glad she called out the players that she needed to call out. One of the things, and look, did I take it a step further? Yeah, because I want people to know the bullshit she's had to deal with. Like, don't go after Allie when you don't even know half the story of what she's had to be dealing with. She's got a new pitching coach that she had to go on the street and get, and then he's not recruited his pitchers yet. So yeah, there's a lot of influx that being figured out right now. So just chill. Secondly, and I keep going back to the Skylar Meade conversation because one of the things he said is he talks to a lot of baseball coaches, including Dags, and they're all still trying to find out in this world of social media, in this world of select baseball, in this world of transfer portal, in this world of guys being recruited illegally throughout the season. How do you coach an entire team when it's not old school where you recruit your guys, they come in, you play your game, you develop them as you want, and then you go on. Now it's like, oh, this player might like the way I coach, but this one doesn't. He got his feelings hurt. So if he gets his feelings hurt, is he going to go and walk out the door? And now, Skylar Meade's like, I'm not even worried about that. If you don't want to be here, go. I'm not even worried about it anymore. And I think you're seeing that from Deggs sometimes as well. And I think you saw it last season when there was a mass exodus. So I think just the world that we're in, guys, is that you see it at TSAB right now. I don't think Jay Johnson knows what to do with the team. Ton of talent. They paid how many millions of dollars for that roster? And they're right now they're on the outside looking in for a regional tournament bid. So it's not all about the money. It's not all about one thing. I think it's just where we are in college athletics right now. And until those types of things get figured out, these coaches are just on the fly trying to coach the best that they can with just a bunch of guys that aren't all having the same vision for their career and how they think things should be going.
Listen, I'm going to be the first one to say it. I would not want to be a head coach in college.
I don't think Tony Robichaux would be coaching in college right now. I think he'd hung it up.
Well, let's have a real conversation about this, and here's how I think about it. So let's keep it to baseball for now because that's the season that we're in. The SEC is going to get kids from the SEC, the ACC, the Big 12. Those kids are going to move schools, if they don't like a coach or like a style or like, they want to win more games or think they can play here or there, whatever. They're probably going to move around in those Power 3. Whenever you go like to the ACCs and the Big 12s, they're just going to pull from the Sun Belts, right? So it's like every year you're going to see kids take the next whatever. And then lastly, you'll see the Sun Belts, like we did this past year, are going to pull from the JUCOs, the NAIAs, and for the most part for us this year, it has relatively worked. Cody Brash is a prime example, as was LP Langevin a couple years ago. But bottom line is, I would hate to be a head coach having to balance. Okay, do I go after a kid from this JUCO or this NAIA, or do we stick with this kid that's coming from Patasa High School down the road in Louisiana? What I'm getting at is you have to balance the amount of scholarships that you have, but you also have to piece it together. What do I need from this team? Do I need to, like Deggs, for example? I need some more seniority. So now I have to ditch maybe some of the kids that I had lined up to sign with us out of high school. I have to kind of, push them to the side because I need those scholarships to be able to go after older guys in the portal to fill my roster to compete immediately. So, like I said, I would absolutely hate to be a head coach right now, and I'm across all sports, football, basketball, all of it included. It's just the wild, wild west, and it's a weird time because there's no blueprint on how to do it right. And I think coaches are still figuring out what they have to do to be competitive, and Matt Deggs is included in that. Allison is included in that. Quantus White is included in that.
I mean, we're down to our sixth guy that's transferring out.
Right. So that like I said, across all sports, the NIL has just changed everything, and there's no blueprint for it. So if you are at an organization, and I'm trying to think of one, Coastal, for example, Schnoll, right? Coastal seems to have it figured out. They have a pretty much a pipeline of kids that come in, and they're able to, band-aid their roster year in and year out and create depth. So if you're in an organization like a Coastal or somebody that has it down, especially a mid-major program, kudos to you, because being a head coach in this NIL era is not something that I would want to do. And I do tip my hat to anybody that has to work in this profession.
Well, that's why you see guys like Nick Saban hanging it up after a career like he's had in football. Kev, final thoughts on this, and we'll move on.
Yeah, again, you took the words right out of my mouth. What I was about to say. Cole said he's gonna stay on baseball because it's baseball season, but I'll go to football. You look at the greatest college football coach there has ever been, Nick Saban, and it's you can't tell me it's not the sole reason he hung it up, because Saban's the kind of guy who believes in developing players. And you can't develop a player in a year. You can't develop a player in 2 years, sometimes not even 3 years. Now, I know there were a lot of guys that were so talented it only took them a couple years or so to get first overall draft pick. But for the most part, a team like that's full of – and I'm sorry getting off topic, but a team like that is full of very talented players. All of those guys could be, the best player at most other schools and probably half the other schools in that conference. So they need time to develop as well. And when you got the whole transfer portal thing and guys just chasing money, you can't develop guys like that. And it makes your job an absolute nightmare, I would imagine. And I think it's evident that's why Saban hung it up. But when it comes to us in baseball, I think you're right. I think Deggs it's challenging, but I think to get ahead of that, and I've said this before, I feel like he goes after the type of guys that aren't looking to do stuff like that. He goes after guys that want to be Cajuns and want to be part of a team and a staff that develops them and part of something special that you can't find in 90% of the other college baseball programs in America. So you kind of get ahead of the 8-ball with stuff like that. And I know baseball and softball still fights NIL challenges and transfers and everything, but it's not as bad as it is in football and basketball. So it makes it a little bit easier, but definitely still a challenge. And it's adapt or die, man. That's the world we live in. And I think collectively we've done a pretty good job with what we've had to work with in that aspect.
And final thought is, the world of NIL transfer portal, you're turning amateur sports into professional sports. So now you're turning 18-year-olds into professional athletes for all intents and purposes, getting paid, having agents, all this stuff. So they're all individually looking out for themselves, as is the 25-year-old guy that's going into the NFL, who's matured a little bit through college and learned how to be a team player and still is an individual, but knows how to separate the two. Whereas you're having these announcement parties for they line up 15 baseball caps and they try one at a time. They throw it. The mama opens their shirt. She's got one shirt on. You take it off. It's all become about me, 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 me. And until they can navigate this professional young kid type of I guess system that we have out there right now, that are, by the way, getting exploited by older individuals such as the agents that are just trying to make money. It's not, you never know what you're getting from day to day. You can recruit those type of kids, but then they're 18 years old. They still have to learn. They're getting calls from somebody asking them to go play somewhere else for 3 times the NIL. Who's going to turn that down as a 19-year-old kid? I sure as hell wouldn't. I'd pay, that's a car note. I'm good. Let me go. So there's just so much to navigate. And I know we talk about this on and off throughout each season, but there are some changes that the NCAA is implementing, starting with softball. The NCAA Division I cabinet voted to approve the transfer portal window for softball effective immediately. The 2026 transfer portal will open on Monday, June 8th, and will remain open for 15 days and close on the 22nd. So it will run through the Women's College World Series. I believe what baseball is looking to do is have a similar type of, they're going to test this out with softball. If it works okay, then next year in 27, what they might look to do is have that same 15-day window. And then any teams that are participating in the College World Series have an additional 5 days after the end of the College World Series to enter the portal. Now, keep in mind, it doesn't mean that you still can't get guys from the portal. You can. It just means your entry into the portal. So that portal is going to be around with kids that you can recruit way past that time if they're already in the portal. So just, a couple tidbits. The NCAA is looking to do that. Of course, some judge in nowhere, Delaware is going to rule it invalid, I'm sure, because somebody got pissed off in the SEC, and that's going to go away. One of the other things the NCAA is looking to do, moving week 1 in football to week 0. So now, the week 0 games, it will begin that Thursday of week 0. It will continue into a predefined date, and you'll have, I think, essentially 2 bye weeks instead of 1 bye week each season. So we'll see how that plays out, but they are looking to make that adjustment as well. So a few things that the NCAA is trying to do, not necessarily all to do with the transfers portal, but just some moves that they're making right now. Let's talk about Louisiana Tech, boys. How about that $8 million buyout that they're paying to get out of Conference USA? I think it's hilarious that a lot of the Conference USA folks are joking at the fact that, they're paying $8 million. Show me the money. Haha, y'all are so stupid. But think about the fact that they're paying $8 million to get away from you. I think that says more about you than it does about them. So I just wanted to kind of get each of you guys' takes on the Louisiana Tech situation. I thought, and I know Dave with Locked On Sunbelt talked about that situation. We thought it was closer to $3.5 to $5 million. $8 million is a big chunk of change. I don't know who's coming through with that money, but in the world that we live in, or I should say in the state that we live in, where we're given $5 million to live, that's now shutting down instead of giving it a higher education. That $8 million could have done a lot of good stuff at Louisiana Tech. That's tough to watch.
Yeah, what a messy situation over there. They went from thinking, okay, we can make this transition and come into the Sun Belt, and then this Conference USA says, whoa, hold up. Nope, you still one of us. And then you got a 20-game schedule, which I thought was hilarious because X was on fire when they came out with that 20-game schedule. One of the top comments I wish I could remember who said it, was like, you know what? Don't even pay the $8 million. Just be an Iron Man. Get out there and play 2 games a weekend. Let's see it happen.
Get like a JV team going for the Conference USA games, and that would have been amazing.
I want to see some Iron Man football. You playing 2 games on a weekend. Let's see it happen. But
think about it. For $8 million, you could field you could field a JV team, just guys who want to go play football, against Conference USA. And hell, if they pull up an upset, that would be big news out there in college
$8 million. $8 million is no chump change. The Cajuns could use $8 million in the worst way. So yeah, I don't know who's fronting that money for Louisiana Tech, but I am glad that they got it figured out and that they'll be a member. we talked a lot about it.
They putting that on layaway.
Hopefully, maybe they got a payment plan. I don't know what they got going on in Ruston, but no, as time has gone by, I know we talked a whole lot about it when the shakeup happened and they were voted to join the Sun Belt. I've become a lot softer to it because I am looking forward to it from a rivalry standpoint. I know, especially in baseball, that's going to be a really, really fun 3-game set because first and foremost, everybody on this pod is baseball first guys, so looking at it from a baseball standpoint, it's going to be really fun to be able to go there for a 3-game set, them come here and reignite that rivalry that was already really hot in the 90s. And then on the football side, it's going to be fun as well. They've had our numbers in the past, but the Cajuns get a really good opportunity to try to create some sort of momentum against them there yearly. And I'm just excited for the rivalry aspect of it. I think they'll be a good conference member. And that doesn't just go for us. That goes for Southern Miss. That goes for ULM. That goes for Arkansas State. There's a lot of geographical built-in rivalries there, and I think they fit our conference much better than the Texas State Bobcats do.
Yeah. They might be bigger a-holes, Kev, but I tell you what, I can't wait till Texas State is out the door because but they win the Bubba's Cup. Get your cup. Where's your cup?
Well, I won't say that. But no, I agree, Cole. You're replacing Texas State with La Tech, and I'm happy it's happening. Look, I kind of looked at Southern Miss as our main conference rival over the last 3 years. Honestly, that's kind of getting hard to do because those guys, let's just be honest, those are some nice people. They're good people. They're the kind of people, you root for each other when you're not playing each other. I don't like that in a rival. I want to.
Well, their burners suck, but their burners are, look at our burners.
No, they're great. They're great. Look, all love over there in Hattiesburg. And it helps that we beat them this year, so it's easier to say that. But no, La Tech, look, ULM, they don't have any fans to begin with, so it's hard to be rivals with them, even though they're kind of coming along athletically. Texas State, that's a school that was easy to hate because their fans sucked, and their coaches are arrogant, or at least one of them. But they're gone now, so who better to replace them with who I think is going to end up being the best conference rival we've ever had? Bringing back La Tech. That's some real hatred. That's some LSU type level hatred that you have for each other. And I know they like to say, well, y'all not our rivals. Oh, yeah, we are. Shut up. Same thing with La Tech. That's going to be the that I've been talking about the whole night. You're going to see dugouts clearing and stuff. You might see fans fighting. Who knows? La Tech, I think that's going to be the perfect move in all sports. Like you said, Cole, they're competitive, especially in baseball. And you see it in football last year. They kind of surprised me a little bit in football. They're starting to come around at a good time to get into the Sun Belt, and I think that's why you've seen that. Conference USA's had some good football teams recently, which is great for them. But the Sun Belt has so much potential that can be tapped into, and I think overall the move is great, and it's evident that they paid $8 million to get the hell out of that conference and get over to the Sun Belt. So they knew the same thing we know. I think it's gonna make for some great crowds, some good rivalries, some fun trash talk on the internet, and all the good stuff. It's gonna be a win-win for both sides, for all sides.
Kevin, who's the arrogant coach at Texas State? I want to hear. Tell me more.
We'll save that for another time.
Oh man, you haven't had enough to drink. We have to do it after a game because then you'll spill the beans. Kevin gets a little looser with the lips once he has a couple drinks in him.
You get some Miller Lights in me, we'll get to talking.
I'm here just releasing inside information off the fly here, and he's like, I'm talking about who I think is arrogant. He's too nice, KG.
Just wait for the first full season that we get Big Kev on a post-game show after a football game. That's going to be some much watch. That's going to be some much watch TV. Y'all better be ready to go.
Look, y'all, I love baseball, but I think y'all all know football is my number one. So I get fired up about football. I feel fired up tonight just thinking about football. I think I'll talk just about as much football tonight as I have baseball.
I know. I've seen you in near tears after some football games. I know how much you take that seriously, brother.
Probably beyond near.
You wanna throw anything out there, Mike?
Yeah, just going back to the Tech. Y'all are in the know on the other sports, but for baseball, I think that's going to be a plus for us for Tech coming into baseball. I think it's going to, like you said, it's going to bring in good crowds. They got a good coach, a respectable coach, and he's doing a lot with nothing over there. And I think once they come into the Sun Belt, they're going to have access to more better recruiting, hopefully some more money they're going to get. So I think the attendance is going to be good. It's a good rival, in-state rival. From a baseball standpoint, I liked it. Again, y'all are in the know on the other sports.
Can we just talk about how good the Sun Belt West is going to be in baseball next year? Like,
well, we don't have divisions because I got yelled about that.
Okay,
we don't have divisions, but I get it. It's
split
right.
it up. Think about that. But I mean, you're going to have, and just in Louisiana, you'll have Tech, the Cajuns, and ULM. You have Arkansas State, who's been on the up and up since Silva got there. You got South Alabama, who is finally rebounding. You got Troy, who is up and down, but we know the talent that Troy has, and Skylar Meade's doing a damn good job. The Sun Belt West is, and I know there's no divisions, but the West is damn good. Oh, and Southern Miss. How could I forget? But think about that as a collective. Those, 8 teams, I think it is, 7 teams. What a damn good baseball division that would be. And then you can add in the Coastals. Marshall's not setting the world on fire. They were playing better earlier, but really on the East, what we got? Coastal? Is kind of
we got Coastal. I mean, Marshall's decent.
Yeah,
sometimes
the Georgia schools have kind of fell off a cliff when they first got into the Sun Belt. That's the craziest story.
JMU only beats us. Like, it's weird.
Yeah. But the Sun Belt, I'm going to get back to it. The Sun Belt West is an absolute monster in baseball, and I can't wait till next year when Louisiana Tech is in this conference. And I'll tell you what, I'll give them a pat on the back and a pat on the ass as they hit the door. Texas State's doing some good things this year, but like we talked about, Troy got the best of them this weekend, and I want to remind folks, I know we're going to be, covering it before we close out. Troy's not going to be no fluke. They're playing sub 500 ball, but they do have talent. And if we go in there thinking that, we're just going to ride the coattail on what we did last weekend, it ain't going to happen. They have enough talent to beat us, at their home ballpark where they play well. Like I mentioned, they're 11-5 on the season over there. So Cajuns got to show up this weekend. Because Troy, they're trending upward as well. So just get to the ballpark ready to go.
Lane Burrows, I have the utmost respect for him. He was at Northwestern State, then ends up at Louisiana Tech, did some good things there. But I just cannot stand his face. He looks so mean. He looks pissed off all the time. And he looks like he's an asshole. And he's not. Lane Burrows is actually a very nice guy. I think it's because he coaches at Louisiana Tech, if I'm being honest with you. I mean, Wade Semino coached there, and we all know Wade was an asshole, so that was no big deal. But with you got Coach Wells. Maybe Coach Wells will have that face when he comes down Lafayette. I don't know. We'll have to see what that looks like. But Lane Burrows, I think he just pisses me off because he coaches at Tech, if that's a thing, if that makes sense. I don't like Oz because he coaches at Southern Miss. Am I wrong for that? I still want to know who Kemp's talking about as the arrogant coach. But anyway, I will move forward. We won't talk about
the football coach, bro. The football coach.
Yeah. Let's take a look around the Sun Belt baseball standings right now. Coastal Carolina remains in sole possession of first place, ahead 4 games of Texas State. Coastal Carolina is at 13-2. Texas State in second place at 9-6. Logjam for third place between Southern Miss, South Alabama, ULM, Troy, and Marshall, all at 8-7. Then they are followed by 7-8 teams: Arkansas State, App State, and Georgia State. And the final 4, which right now, if the season ended, would not make the tournament: Louisiana and James Madison at 6-9, and ODU and Georgia Southern at 5-10. But lots of baseball left to be played and lots of movement in those standings. I would anticipate maybe even starting tomorrow. We'll see how things transpire. As far as weekend series, Georgia State will travel to Coastal Carolina. App State travels to JMU. Texas State will travel to Southern Miss. I'll be keeping an eye on that one this weekend because that could be interesting. Of course, Louisiana travels to Troy. ULM will host Arkansas State, another interesting series. And then Marshall will be at South Alabama this weekend. Lots of good baseball on the plus that we will get to watch over the weekend. All right, boys, it's time for Gourmets, brought to you by Lafayette Travel and Eat Lafayette. I brought this question to you guys earlier today. I already see Mike grinning. What are your most memorable favorite TV shows as a kid? I will get started. I know I'm older than all of you a-holes. I know RC could probably attest to Saturday morning cartoons were elite. Masters of the Universe was an ultimate watch. I liked Muppet Babies as a kid. That was my Shaws. Garfield and Friends, Dungeons and Dragons, but I never missed Pee Wee's Playhouse Ball until he got taken off of the air because he was in a movie theater doing stuff. Until then, I was a big Pee Wee Herman fan, Pee Wee's Playhouse. I think that was wrong what they did to the man, but that's not here, neither here nor there. I watch Pee Wee's Playhouse. We'll leave it at that. KG, your favorite children's shows?
Man, so when you asked the question in the text message, it said, "What was your favorite TV show growing up?" So my
yeah, that's fine. It doesn't have to be a children's show.
No. But I will give you my children's shows. But when I said my favorite TV show, and this is gonna be such a boring answer, but it's true. It was SportsCenter. Back in my prime, the Booyahs of Stuart Scott. Like, I never missed SportsCenter. Every freaking night at my house growing up, we watched SportsCenter, top 10 rundowns. Back when it was fun to watch SportsCenter, like when Stuart Scott was in the prime time with Rich Eisen and Scott Van Pelt, and it was in its absolute prime. Even Boomer was still doing, all of his crazy stuff. But no, as a kid, I'll get to children's shows. I guess I'll start with cartoons. I was a big Ed, and Eddie kid growing up. Loved Ed, and Eddie. And then you get to like the Disney era when it was in its prime, like the Lizzie McGuire's, the Even Stevens, Kim Possibles, all of that stuff. So that was when I was pretty much in my late elementary school, early middle school years. Even like the iCarly's. iCarly was probably the last true kids show that I watched. Oh, and Drake and Josh, another classic. But I have to say my favorite TV show that is geared towards kids was Boy Meets World. I really liked Boy Meets World. Love Boy Meets World. Anyway, so Boy Meets World was my number one. And then, like I said, I gave you a bunch of other ones. I was definitely a Disney kid, though. That was more on the side. Love a lot of the Nick shows. And the last one I'll give, Courage the Cowardly Dog as a cartoon. Love Courage. But anyway, Boy Meets World is my answer. Other than that, da-na-na.
I would say that too, but we didn't even watch that as a kid because my mama only let us have like 12 channels, and we still had the turn thing. So you had to turn the dial. Once you got past 13, you were out of luck. You back to 2. So it was 2 to 13. I watched a lot of LPB back in the day, but no, we didn't have SportsCenter because my mama wouldn't let us have that. And then I got into high school, and then we had every channel. I don't understand how that worked. Mike, your favorite show as a kid?
He nailed it. Mine was Boy Meets World. I was thinking about it all afternoon. I narrowed it down to Full House, Saved by the Bell, Boy Meets World, and it was Boy Meets World. It was Saved by the Bell, Boy Meets World, and I just couldn't. Boy Meets World.
I swear to God, Caswell, I was about to say Topanga because I was older than y'all. I was older than y'all at that time, and I was going, call Cat. And she's still looking good these days, man. I saw a recent picture of her, and I'm like, damn, Topanga.
Gotta be Boy Meets World. That was a classic. It's iconic. Feeney is the man. Gotta go with Boy Meets World.
He just had his 99th birthday like a week or two ago. That man is still alive and kicking. The Feeney himself is still going strong.
All right, Kev, what you got?
Y'all are talking about Boy Meets World. It's crazy because Shelby's on a kick right now where that's all she's watching. That's her show at the moment. I can't get into it. I'm sorry. It was a little before my time. She's peeping in the door.
Making fun of me for my show?
Yes, she is making fun of you for your show. Yes.
Look,
all right, you can pay for it later.
When she's
hyperfixated.
When she's Shelby, get out of here.
Yeah, I'm stuck on that. I'm gonna make you pay for it later. I don't know if I want to know what she meant by that, but moving on.
Okay. Anyway, damn, I forgot what the hell I was talking
Boy
about.
Meets World.
Thanks,
She's
Shelby.
hyperfixated.
Yeah, I'll just watch my baseball highlights or some crap. Anyway, yeah, Courage the Cowardly Dog. That was one as a children's show I liked. I'm not with the Disney. I wasn't on the Disney side like you, Cole. I was more Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon, like you said. Yeah, Drake and Josh, iCarly, all that stuff. But honestly, my favorite show, not just as a kid, I was probably way too young watching this, is Family Guy. I'm surprised no one said Family Guy. I still watch that religiously.
That was more adult. That was more Adult Swim days, though. You had to stay up to watch that one.
Yeah, it's Cartoon Network changes to Adult Swim, and Mom, I guess, wasn't paying attention. I just watched whatever the hell came on next. You had what was it? What was the one with Seth Green? Robot Chicken. You had Robot Chicken. You had
Futurama.
Futurama, all that. So I was probably.
I'm just thinking the HBO shows that came on after 9 o'clock. on
y'all talking about-
Skinamax.
Hey,
We didn't
you and
catch it,
Mike-
but I'd listen. It was like you couldn't see it because it was scrambled, but you could still listen. And I was trying to listen and look between.
I mean, if you stay up late enough at night, you could have got girls going wild on the infomercial. I mean, how late you want to stay up, man?
Y'all remember, but I mean, I did that for pay-per-views too in wrestling because I was a huge wrestling fan as a kid. My mama wasn't going to pay $30 for me to watch Halloween Havoc in 1991, but you put it on that scrambled channel and you heard all the audio. Well, that was good enough for me. I was imagining I had my little ring out and I played with my little toys as they were wrestling. I mean, it was awesome. You know, kids these days don't know. They don't know the box that rocks. Do y'all know that?
No.
Yeah, a little bit, Mike. I'm going to mute you because I'm getting a little bit of feedback from you. But when I stop talking, I'll unmute you. But the box that rocks was like on channel 0 or like channel 1, and like it played music videos 24/7. But it wouldn't play the video. Like you had to call a 900 number, pay $2.99, and it would play the video that you requested. So during that time in the early 90s, it was Pop That Coochie. All you would turn it on. It didn't matter what time of day. It was just Pop That Coochie over and over and over and over. And then every now and then you get like George Strait, then Pop That Coochie. It was the strangest thing. But the box that rocks was awesome back in the day. I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
I don't. It's hard to even come back after that. But like, I had friends that were like huge in the like the wrestling part. But getting back, like the one thing that didn't say it, if we were going cartoon really young, is Looney Tunes. It's got to be Bugs Bunny. That's the classic. So if we're going like really young, it's Looney Tunes, Bug Bunny. Growing up as a kid, it was Boy Meets World.
I'll even give you a couple more, and they're not even kid shows, but they're shows that I watched as a kid growing up religiously. Home Improvement and Reba. Like that was always on my TV growing up. So that's just two more off the top of my head that I could think of. That, man, just what a time to be alive. That was prime time TV shows back then. You want to talk about sitcoms? That was them, baby.
I love Home Improvement. I mean, we grew up in the best era.
Dude, think about TGIF. You know, you had Full House, you had Family Matters, you had Step by Step, you had all that shows. Golden Girls was awesome back in the day.
And it's not a TV show. Well, I guess it kind of is, but whose line is it anyway? I remember watching that like all the time growing up with Drew Carey and that crew. That was like some of the most hilarious TV you could watch at that time, other than when, you know, Saturday Night Live was in its golden era. But man, yeah, Whose Line is another one that I remember watching a lot as a kid.
And those were some fun days. They had some good TV. Now everything is a remake of something they already did because now they can't think of anything new. You know, now, we're going to bring back Dallas. We're going to bring back this. We're going to bring back that. Kind of sad where we are now. Final thoughts. We'll go to Grant because, you know, he's like tuning into the show going, when are we going to talk about baseball? Well, here we go. We did earlier, but we'll close it out with this, boys. Let's go around the horn. I think we take 2 out of 3 from Troy this weekend. KG, what's your prediction?
I'm going to be Mr. Pessimist. I'm going to honestly say I think we take 1. And here's why I say it. Because I think our offense will have to out-hit Troy in their own ballpark, which is something we really have not done this year other than DBU. And with the pitching situation kind of in flux in the TBD, I only really feel confident saying that we will take 1. Now, I also said I thought we would take 1 last weekend, and look what happened. So I'm going to ride the same train because I will gladly like to be wrong in the right way. So give me 1 and prove me wrong. I would love to see it.
All right. What are your thoughts there, Mike?
I'm gonna be a little optimistic, man. I think we're in a turning point of the season. I think we go take 2. I think they're changing up the pitching rotation. They're shaking things up as a team. I'm gonna be optimistic. It starts with offense. It starts with the guys inside the box at the plate. That's how we're gonna have to beat them. I think we take 2.
Kev, what you got?
By the way, Shelby just texted me and told y'all to get y'all heads out of the gutter. But
she said it, not me.
I think, man, Cole, me and you are on the same wavelength tonight, bro. I was gonna play the pessimistic role for once, but you know what? I'm not gonna do it. Instead, I'm gonna challenge us to go out there, and I'm saying we sweep the weekend.
He just took off the Alabama mascot head and put Cayenne on and said, "Psych."
Yeah, I just psych y'all. Yeah, no. Look, last week it was all about that we could do this, and which we did, and I knew we could, obviously. But this week, same thing with softball. If y'all are listening, go out there and put it to them. I'm challenging y'all to go get a sweep. We ain't swept somebody since Maryland. I know it's in y'all. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. It don't matter what the name on the jersey is. Don't matter if they're good, bad, or RPI. None of that crap matters, especially on the road. It's just you and your boys. Go out there, get 3, get back to Lafayette, and let's keep this thing rolling.
My boy
You
said
give me-
challenge.
You give me a road sweep, and the post-game show is gonna be on fire.
Oh, it's gonna be
Saturday,
litty.
Sunday.
Yeah, it's gonna be litty, and we're gonna be talking all about Blake Cavill. Don't forget to go on
excited.
Twitter.
Let's
Give your Blake Cavill hits starting tonight. And last thing I'm gonna say, MTV Spring Break does not get any better than the OGs when it comes to Real World and Road Rules. And we have a big Cajuns fan, Tommy Herter. His brother was on Road Rules back in the day. He's closer to my age. Tommy's brother Blair was on Road Rules, and boy, that was country come to town for us. We were like, oh, he made it big. He's on Road Rules, ball. So that was cool to watch. I don't even think they have Road Rules anymore. I don't think they have music on MTV anymore. So that's how old we're all getting. Boys, it's been a lot of fun. We were going all over the place. Thanks to the Best Stop. Thank you, Cole, for showing the Best Stop koozie Shaws. 40 years. Impressive. Go check them out and give them some love. We got some bourbon going on over there. I got a little of my own here. A little Blanton's Gold tonight that I've been sipping on. But now it's time to go take a little nap. We're back, says Big Cab. Mike is, I don't know what Mike's doing. I thought he was writing something down, but he's just chilling. Mike is the chillest of us all. For KG, for Mike, for Big Cab, I am Nicholas. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Big series against the Trojans. We'll see how the Cajuns do, and we'll come back with the postgame on Sunday. Until next time, as always, go Cajuns.